Hey everyone, okay, sorry about that. 2 weeks later, I am back. Oh my gosh, I thought I would be back. We're going to use Vicky Rush's, yes, Vicky Rush's, Vicky Boutin Sweet Rush. Is it Boutin? Boutin Sweet Rush. That's what we're going to use for today's layout. Okay, so much to tell you. Oh my gosh, you guys, so much to tell you. Luckily, this layout has a lot of embellishments, so we will take our time. That way I can talk to you guys. So it has been a whirlwind of adventure, fun. So 2 weeks ago, when I'm sick, but I'm getting better, so thank goodness. We had our crafty retreat, and that was just a blast. It really was a blast, and it seemed like everyone had a great time, and we can't wait to do it again. So it's going to be fun for next year too. So we got lots in store for next year, lots of plans, lots of ideas, and I'm looking forward to that most of all. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so then I had that, and then where's my phone? Because I needed my layout. So let's see. So, and then the last weekend, which I can't believe so 2 weekends ago, I had the crafty retreat. And then last weekend, we were in LA, at Universal Studios for my mom's 70th birthday. And it was just a girls trip, and it was just Shy, myself, and my mom. And we had an absolute blast. Absolute blast. It was so worth it. Took hundreds of photos. I posted up probably hundreds of photos. And it was just amazing. And Cheyenne came over and brought a treat for Kit Kat this day. And she started crying. And I'm like, don't you dare start crying. Because this is 2 weeks before she died. And we won't talk about that right now. But so yeah. And so we have had a whirlwind. And then what did I do? I got home on Monday and I went to my step class because I love step class. I love step class. It is one class that I absolutely adore. And I went to class, and it's at night, and I was huffing and puffing, you guys. My obese body was like, whoa, what are you doing? You know, like, why aren't you home eating chocolate and bonbons and stuff instead of doing this exercise? And well, then it let me know that yeah, it really did not like me. And so oh, funny, I gotta take a picture of this. And so we were trying to figure out how much birch we used for my shelving, and there's a picture of it right here. So it's kind of funny because I was like, I don't have the pictures anymore because we transferred them from my phone into the computer, but they're right here in front of me. So now I can send them this photo. So anyways, so squirrel, normal stuff I do. So then I'm huffing and puffing, shucking in so much air. And it was hard. And then we went out on the air, the AC is, atrocious in the classroom. And then I'm sweating, and I'm hot. And then I go outside and it's freezing. And I ended up getting a cough and cold because my body hates me, and it wants me to lose weight, because then my body hates me because it's like, you're too big, you need to lose weight. And then I go try and do something about it, and it's like, oh hey, yeah, you're too big, you should be sick too. So I can't make up his mind. And so I ended up getting a cough and a cold, and it sucked, and I barely could breathe today, so that was good. I don't have like the sniffles right now, so which is good. And I'm getting better, but it's so stupid. So speaking of sickness, I've told my family, so my family all knows, and and I told Facebook friends and stuff. So this is what ended up happening, you guys. This is why I haven't been around much, and how it was kind of scary. Honestly, it was really scary for a while. So I'll tell you what ended up going on. 7 weeks ago, I told you guys I had to do the CT scan, right? The CT It was a CT scan for your heart. And because we have a history of heart problem. My dad had a heart attack, a couple years ago, a few years ago now. And this is when Tim was building me my silhouette room shelves. And then, and my grandmother died at like 46 or somewhere along the lines of I don't know if it's a heart attack, but she needed a pacemaker and didn't want to get one, so she ended up dying. And so they keep an eye on me because of that. And then Tim, he had an EKG that didn't come out that well. So I've been telling you all about Tim and how his results came and all that stuff. But what I didn't tell you was that we did that test. A week later, we went into our primary's office to go get our results. She's like, okay, I want to see you come in, get your results. Okay, no problem. So we go in. She tells Tim he has the plaque and that, she wants to send him to a cardiologist, he may need a stent, that kind of thing. And so we're like, wow, blown away. Okay, crazy, like, okay, whew, all right. Well, geez, Tim. He's 51. He'll be 52 in July. And so it was like, crazy. Well, then she goes and she looks at me and she goes, okay, now your turn. She goes, I don't have that great news for you. And I'm like, okay, that figures, like, okay, whatever. What could it possibly be? And that's my silhouette room, right? So it's my paper wall that he built all for me. And so it was like, okay, fine. So she says, the results came in and they did an incidental find, and you have a large lung mass in your right lung. And I'm like, okay. And so she says, we're like, okay, so what does that mean? She goes, well, it can mean one of two things. She says you either have lung cancer or you have a spore. And I'm like, she goes, it's fairly large. And I'm like, she says, you had pneumonia, right, in 2020 and you were hospitalized? I said, yeah, I was hospitalized for 3 days and, the whole ICU thing. And she's like, okay. She says, this is where we see common with people who had severe pneumonia like you did. And it can be contributed to that. And I'm like, okay. She says, I'm going to send you to the pulmonologist, and an oncologist. And we're like, okay. And so I asked her, I go, okay, have you seen this type of thing before, and do you think it's cancer? And she says, I have seen it before, and it has come back as cancer for some people. She goes, but I've had a couple of patients die from it, and then I've had some who are fine, went through chemo and everything. And I'm like, okay. So she's all, but I want to send you, and let's just get the process started and see what we can do to find out exactly what it is, to give you a diagnosis for sure. And I'm like, okay, fine. So we get a hold of the oncologist. I think it was like a Thursday, so we were like, okay, we weren't going to tell anybody. We decided we were going to keep this to ourselves, just me and Tim, because of the, I'll put on their silhouette room, and because we don't have a diagnosis, so why worry the family when there's no need, because we don't know what it is yet. So we didn't tell anybody. And that was hard. That really, really was hard. And it was so scary. And it was just devastating, because I'm thinking, like, okay, this happened from my pneumonia. This is 3 years ago, you guys. January of 2020. 3 years ago. So I'm thinking, okay, if it was cancer, it's been in my body for 3 years, which to me means it's spread. And I'm like, holy smokes. Okay, so, yeah, you guys, it was It was insane. The feelings, the devastation, because Cheyenne and I, you know, okay, so and let me keep going. So we called the oncologist. He says, I want you to do a CT scan with contrast. Okay, fine. So I did the CT scan with contrast, but I did what I was supposed to do. I drank a gallon of water because my veins always collapse. They can never get it, you know, perfectly. And so it's never like a one-shot deal. It's maybe 1 out of 10 times they do it. Well, they had to do the contrast, but I couldn't, and then they had to do extensive blood work. So he needed like 5 vials of blood. He was able to get 4 and drops. And so he's like, I don't know, I don't know what to do. He says, let me find out from the lab what they can do, if it's enough or not. And I'm like, okay, because my blood stopped. My blood did not want to come out anymore. So it made it difficult. So I was like, okay, great. And then they had to do and so I went, they said, okay, it's fine. They said it's fine. We may have enough. You may have to come back though. And I go, okay, fine. So then they had to go put the contrast into my veins, you guys. And that is when, you know, I may have said that they were going to try and take my blood, but it wasn't my blood they were trying to take. They were trying to put the contrast in me. But I couldn't tell anybody. I couldn't tell anybody what exactly was happening, so I said they were trying to draw blood. But actually they were trying to put medicine into my veins, and so they could see what this lung mass is. 10 tries, and they never got it. They never did, because they did the ultrasound. They did 3 of the top people who can, or 4, yeah, it was 4 of them. Yeah, 4 of them. They did the top 4 people who can get a vein in that hospital, and this is one of those, you know, top hospitals, and nobody could get a vein. Nobody could get it. So I mean, this was the only vein they could see visible, and that was the last one they did, and they could not get it, and that was visible. And so they said no more. So they called it, and they asked the pathologist if, you know, what can they do, or was it no, it wasn't the pathologist, it was the CT scan guy. I don't know what they call him. I can't remember off the top of my head. And they asked him if they could do the test without it. I was there 2.5 hours, you guys. They tried for 2.5 hours to get blood, or to put the contrast into my veins. It did not work. And then the test itself is literally 3 minutes. 3 minutes for the CT scan. And I was there 2.5 hours. And I'll tell you what, I was absolutely devastated. I let them keep trying to get the contrast in, because I knew I needed it. I knew I needed answers, so I had to keep going, and it was the worst. It was the worst day ever. It really was. It was so sad and just, you know, horrible. Because yeah, I have tattoos, but doesn't mean they don't hurt. You know, it doesn't mean that I love pain. It doesn't mean any of that. And it's so different getting tattooed than getting your blood drawn or getting needles inside of your veins like that. It's different, and it's painful. And I have fibromyalgia, and because of the fibro, I have a sensitive body. So anytime I get poked or prodded, I can feel it for days. And the bruising is pretty bad too. And, you know, I was trying to be brave. I was trying to be everything I could be, and try and just will it to happen. And it was so unbelievably hard, you guys. It was so sad. So he ended up saying it's fine. We'll just do it without the contrast after 2.5 hours and 10 tries. And so, and that didn't include the Novocaine, I think they did. They pushed Novocaine into, because they had to do it, they did it up here. So this is my arm up here. So they did it here, and but she's like, it's going to be so painful up here, so I'm going to put Novocaine in you. So she did the Novocaine. That was unbelievably painful. That was like, oh, man, I was holding my breath. I was like, whoa, all right, breathe. And then when she went to put the needle in to try and get the vein, she hit a nerve. She hit a nerve, so you hit a nerve, your arm's going to twitch, and so I twitched, and she couldn't get it. So all this pain for nothing, you guys. All the pain for nothing. And I was just devastated about that too. And I was just like, gosh. So poor Tim, he is helpless. He does, he's helpless in the waiting room. They go out and tell him that what they're trying to do and that it's not working and everything else. So he's so nervous for me. He is just absolutely, just fretting. And I'm like, I can't do anything. I can't have him in the room with me. I can't do anything to, help him either. And so, and then, so I do the test, and then we leave, and then, so then we get the call that says, hey, okay, your pulmonologist wants to see you. So we go see the pulmonologist, and she says, okay, and then this is 2 weeks. Oh, sorry, this is 2 weeks later. Yeah, this is 2 weeks, because they had to do those extensive blood work, and so those extensive blood works, they take 2 weeks to do those tests. So about 2.5 weeks later, I go into her office, and she says, okay, she says, I don't believe you have cancer. She says, let's look at your blood work. So she's looking at my blood work, and she goes, oh. And we're like, what? Because she's reading it barely when we're in the office. So she didn't even read them ahead of time because, she has that many patients, I'm sure. And it's just not something that she was going to do. And so she looks at the blood work, and she's all, sorry guys. She says, I've been sick and I haven't talked to anybody, so sorry. She says, you came back positive for valley fever. She says, you were undiagnosed in January of 2020. And then, but oh, let me go back. She says, wait. She says, I see records here. When I first went to go see her, she goes, you saw my partner, because it's an office, right? She goes, you saw Dr. whatever his name is, who's her partner in that office. And I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know. She goes, you don't remember? And I go, no. She goes, you did one follow-up, and then he wanted you to do more testing. You didn't do it. And so she's kind of accusing me. And I'm like, well, okay. I didn't know how severe this was. I didn't know anything. It just thought it was pneumonia, And I don't have pneumonia anymore. And so, not no more, anymore. And so, I didn't think I needed to do more. And so she's like, okay, but why are you in a hurry to get the diagnosis of this? And I'm like, for one, because my primary made it seem as if I have cancer. And she wants me to see the oncologist and everybody else. So I'm not really the one pushing for things. They are the ones pushing me for things. I don't know. I said, I have insurance. I said, I'm just going with what I'm being told right now. She goes, okay. Yeah, so she didn't, I didn't take offense to her. She's more like, it was more like an accusation, but also curiosity kind of thing. So you had to be there, because it wasn't as bad as I'm making it sound, or how it sounds like when I'm saying it, but but anyway, so I'm like, I don't know. And so, so she goes, okay. She says, that's fine. And I'm like, okay. And then she says, well, you didn't do any follow-ups, anything like this. So this has been in you for 3 years. And I go, okay. And so she says, you have valley fever, and it's undiagnosed. It was undiagnosed. So I believe you have scar tissue. She goes, that's what I believe the mass is. And I'm like, okay. She goes, how's your breathing? I'm like, well, my breathing is fine, except for, you know, like the regular obesity, you know, problems of exercise, you know, bending over, you know, that kind of thing. You can't breathe. So she's like, okay, so she goes, okay, we're going to do more testing. She goes, I want to see your lung function and everything else, because it's like 3.5 centimeters or something. So it's in my right lung, and it's in the back area. So it's big. I am prone to tumors and cysts. So she's like, but I don't feel like, she goes, it's not cancer. She goes, I can tell you right now it's not cancer. I go, okay. She goes, I just don't know what it is. And I'm like, she says, but, she says, let me send you to the infectious disease person. And she goes, let me see what she says, what she thinks it is. And I'm like, okay. And so we go see the infectious disease lady, and she's like, well, we can do a biopsy. She goes, you know, everything can be done, you know, biopsy, biopsy, biopsy. She says, that's just the best way to know what it is. She says, but that comes with its own complications, because, you know, we could end up, you know, paralyzing you. We can end up puncturing something, and now you have to have like this heart thing. And I'm like, I have no idea what this is all about. I have no idea what she is saying. I guess the area that they would be doing the biopsy in my lung is close to something that's vital, that would, if punctured or something, would be detrimental to my health. And so she's like, so we're not going to rush into doing a biopsy. She says, what do you want to do? And I'm like, if you feel that it's not cancer, I'm like, okay, that's great. I said, yeah, I would like to know what this is, because what is it? Sorry guys, I haven't talked in so long. And so she says, well, and that's what else, I got sick, and I have to use my inhaler a lot. So I'm not sure if this is all part of that. You know, that's what I was telling Tim. I go, have I had this thing in me? And so, because I had the flu a few months ago, right? And I'm like, is this why I have asthma and can't breathe? Because it's so large, it's taking up space in my lungs, and nobody knew. But because I had COVID, right? So I had January 2020, I had the severe pneumonia. Then in August of 2021, I got COVID. And they did 2 chest x-rays, because I was, you know, it was a week of me having a hard time breathing. So they kept checking my vitals, and they did the chest x-rays. But the chest x-rays doesn't show the lung mass. And so I'm like, have I been suffering all this time, these 3 years, when I get a cough and cold and I can't breathe because of this? You know, so I'm kind of, you know, I'm kind of wondering, kind of curious. But they're going to do more testing. So she says, okay, she was going to talk to the pulmonologist and the infectious disease lady, our friends. And they were going to talk to each other and figure out what to do, because they kind of don't want to rush into anything with my case. And so I'm like, because they're stumped also. They're stumped, because they're like, what is it? And so, but they're thinking about my health, which is nice. You know, they're not just rushing to do procedures and stuff when like I said, it could be detrimental. So we're not sure. So I'm like, okay. So I have, my next appointments are in April. So they are in April. So then I have to do a sleep study and all that stuff, and then a lung test and all that good stuff. So I have more to do. And they're going to do the basics for now, because right now they're like, maybe we'll do every 6 months we'll do a CT scan, and a CT scan, and a that was a quilt I made, you guys, and I'll show you on my floss tube. hopefully soon I'll have a floss tube for you. And I'll show you my quilts I've been making. And, she, what was it saying? They're gonna do the lung test and all that stuff, and then I'll find out hopefully more in April. But 6 months do the they want to do like the blood test, what did I call it earlier? The blood tests that are the bigger ones and extensive blood tests, and not the basics. And they want to, they're thinking of doing that every 6 months. So they basically want to keep an eye on me. So I end up telling family and friends, or, well, not, I tell my family separately, but friends on Facebook. And I'll tell you what I told them, and I will tell you this right now. If you've had pneumonia, and I think, because when we did that test, the CT test for our heart, that it was found because it was incidental, right? They saw it because of that test, but it's not supposed to be for that, but they found it anyways. So it was $125 because our insurance here in California doesn't pay for it, all of it. So we had to pay $125. Best $125 we've ever spent, you guys. So just know right now, just if you have to pay for it, just pay for it. And it's worth it. Because if it's an incidental find, it's okay. Let's get the ball started. But I wanted everyone to know to not do what I did. I did not follow up on anything. When I've been diagnosed with stuff and they're like, well, you need to go see this person and see this person, I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Just, you know, I don't want to be a hypochondriac. I don't want to be someone who's always at the doctor. I don't want that stuff. But now I know that I need to shut my mouth and do all my follow-ups, do all my appointments. So I'm going to tell you this as friends on my YouTube channel. Don't put off any appointments. Don't do that. Do what you need to do. Be proactive about your health, you guys. Be proactive. If it's a spot on your arm, if it is a spot on your butt, you know, whatever. You know, nobody wants the doctor to see your butt, right? But you know what? Whatever it takes, because I will tell you what, after being told that I may have lung cancer and not knowing and still in the process of not knowing anything, I had a date with Cheyenne. I had a dinner date and pedicures with her, and I went with her. Anyways, I went with her. We went to get dessert after all that stuff, and she was cold. And I'm a big girl. I had a jacket on finally, and I wrapped her up in my arms, and she didn't know, but I started crying on the back of her. Hold on. So anyways, I was hugging her. I had her in how do you say that? I had her in my arms, and I was covering her with my blanket, and I was holding on to her, and I'm thinking, God dang, you know, I'm 48 years old. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I want to see all my children's milestones. I want to be there for my children. I want to see them get married. I want to see them have children. And all because I was stupid and did not follow up on my appointments, you guys. And so I'm kicking my own butt, and I'm like, you know, you're an idiot. And so I'm telling you right now, it was horrible. It was horrible to feel like, man, I'm going to end up dying because I have 3 years. Because you go through the whole mirror of emotions, because you're like, okay, well, am I going to have to do chemo for a long time? What am I going to have to do to keep myself alive here? Because it was like, you know, you get told this at the doctor's office, and you're like, there is no answers for at least 4 weeks, you guys. You have 4 weeks before you even get an answer, before you can see a doctor, before you can do anything. And it's like, it's a killer on your emotions. It really is, because, you know, I'm holding my baby girl, and I'm like, God dang, you know, this isn't fair. This isn't right. I'm a good person. I'm not a piece of crud. I'm not a mean girl. I'm nothing like that. And I'm just like, gosh, you know, why? And so it was devastating, you guys. My kid didn't even know. I couldn't even talk to my kid, nor would I tell my kid, you know, like, oh, I may have cancer. And that's going to freak her out, you know. So I'm like, so it was just him and I'm on my way home crying to him, going, God dang, hun, I don't want to die. I'm like, God, you know, so stupid, you know. But, you know, you guys, don't put off any appointments. Please don't. Go get your pap smears. Go get your breast exams. Go see a dermatologist, you know. Get all those lumps and bumps looked at. Double check. Who cares how much it costs? Because if you love living and you have a great life and you just want to keep living and see your, you know, your children or your parents or anybody, you know, that you love, you want to keep seeing them, go do what you need to do, you guys. Honestly, just go do it. Pay the money. It's worth it, you guys. Just go and do what you need to do. It matters, because really cancer has no care if you are 6 months old or if you're 99 years old. It does not give a crap. It really does not give a crap how old you are. It will take you in a heartbeat, and it's not something to mess around with. So you know what? Be proactive. Do what you need to do. Just go do it. It sucks. Nobody wants to go, you know, put their legs up in the air and have this person in your private space. Nobody wants it. But you know what? That is how come men die the most from prostate cancer, because they cannot handle a finger up their butt. And you know what? That is the most ridiculous thing that they can ever do to their spouse, to their parents, to their children. It is the most ridiculous thing to not go see a doctor for. You know what? We as women have to do so much. That's the least they can do, you know, and to make sure that they are good, that they're around for a lot longer than, you know, like they need to be. And it's just, go do it, you guys. Just honestly, I am not going to take anything for granted anymore. I am not. I am like, no, I will go do my follow-ups. I'm not going to become a hypochondriac, but when the doctor says, okay, you had pneumonia, you need to go see the pulmonologist and then do some more testing. Okay, doc, I will do it. And you know what? And I'm going to take my husband and I'm going to go have lunch. You know what? Do that. I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to go to Daiso's. I'm going to go to Hobby Lobby, you know, if you're by yourself. Just don't put it off, you guys. Honestly, just don't. Please don't. And I already had a few friends, you know, contact me and say they've made their appointments now because of what I had to say. And I'm grateful, you guys, because honestly, learn from my mistakes. You don't want to go through this scary experience when you don't need to. And I still don't know what's happening. I still don't know, you know, what, I just don't know anything yet, because after I got done with that, I still had to go do my mammogram, which came, and you know, it's sad because Tim and I are we kind of have like PTSD, because, you know, here I am going to go get my breast exam, and I'm like, or my mammogram, and I'm like, oh, you know, like, oh gosh, please do not come back, you know, negative or anything, you know, saying I need to go get more done. And so I opened the letter when I got that, and I was like, okay, usually they'll call you, because I've had that happen, you know, last year or 2 years ago, where they found something. And so, and I got the letter, and I was like, okay, that might be good. And I opened it, and I read it, and it said no signs of cancer. And I sent a picture to Tim, and he goes, you know, he goes, now it scares me. He goes, now it scares me when we're doing this now. And I'm like, I know, right? Because it was so awful, you guys. 7 weeks, but 4 weeks of really not knowing. It took a while before I could tell my kids, because I wasn't going to tell them over the phone, and I was going to, you know, I just wanted to be honest with them and let them know what was happening. So I finally was able to tell my kids. I told my mom. My dad still doesn't know, because my dad would freak out a little bit more. But, yeah, I just, man, you guys. But anyway, so then I went and had to do the the ultrasound on, because I have thyroid problems too, right? And then I have kidney problems. And so when I went, I did the ultrasound on my abdomen, and I did an ultrasound on my thyroid. Well, then I get told that I have for my primary, I had to go see her again. She called and said, I need to see you. And I'm like, oh, great. You know, so then we go into there, and she says they found a cyst on my thyroid. She goes, it's pretty big. And I'm like, okay, is that cancer? And I'm like, oh my gosh. So she doesn't feel it is, but of course I haven't been biopsied yet, and I need a biopsy on my throat. So I still have way more to do. And then of course, you know, so I have, my thyroid is one huge one, and then I have one that is minuscule, like it's nothing. There's like, they can't, it's like a pea, there's nothing there. And then they found, like I said, I'm prone to tumors and cysts. That's how come I had half a hysterectomy in 2013 or 2003, I think it was, because, yeah, 3, and because I had tumors in my uterus and stuff, and cysts on my ovaries, on my one ovary, and so then on my kidneys. My kidney has one big kidney and then one half the size. So they need to find out what's going on with that. So I still have way more to do. And I'm just, you know, but I'm doing it, you guys. I'm following up. I'm going to my appointments. I'm getting it done. And I strongly urge you guys to just do it too. And you know what? Get your significant others out there and take them with you and have them do their appointments too, because you know what, darn it, we love them. And you know what, buck it up, it's okay. Have them do it. Just tell them they can have something of their delight, you know, of whatever it is after the appointment, you know, let them have, you know, winner's choice kind of thing. But it needs to be done. And I made my husband do it, and he did it last year, and you know what, it's 1 minute, maybe 30 seconds, and that is it. And it's so worth it, you guys. Just get it done. All right, guys. Week 31, I have 34 done. So I have 2, 3, 4, 3 layouts done, and I have no more of my little templates. So I have to make more because I'm going. I'm still working on it. But yeah, being sick and stuff, it sucked. All right, guys. Take care. I love you guys. Big hugs. Big loves. Barbara Haish, thank you for leaving me a comment. You know, guys, just thinking of you. All right, guys, take care. Bye.